Hello everyone and welcome to another really exciting game. It's from round 3 of the Meltwater Champions Chester Finals. Magnus Carlsen again with the white pieces faces Maxime Vachier-Lagrave in the same line that they used in game 1. Only here Maxime develops a different knight. You'll see what I mean. Let's check it out. So Magnus again opens with e4. We have c5 by Maxime. Of course, going for the strongest weapon he has against e4, or at least what we know of. And now knight to c3, repeating from game 1, d6 and bishop to b5 with check. We have bishop to d7, captures, and knight to f3. And here in game 1, Maxime went knight to c6, but now he plays knight to f6. So how does Magnus continue here? Well, he challenges the center as one usually does against the Sicilian defense, d4, c captures, knight captures, and now g6, preparing to put the bishop on this long diagonal. And now usually the players with white just castle here. The position has been reached many times, but here Magnus plays b3. He wants to counter Maxime's bishop by playing his own bishop, or rather by fianchettoing it on b2, but this can go very wrong, as you'll see in the game. So Maxime strikes in the center with the d5, and he's trying to bait Magnus to go after him. Obviously, if you capture, we just capture and nothing happens. Captures, the game goes on. But here, Magnus wants more, and he advances the pawn to e5. And now this knight really doesn't have a great square. If you play the e4, we're just going to capture and double black's e-pawn. You can go to d7, d8, you could go back, but of course we're not doing that. And you can go to h5, but as you all know, the knight on the rim is... well, everyone finishes this rhyme differently, but you know how it goes. So after e5, Maxime plays queen to c7. And here, Maxime really shows Magnus that playing b3 in such a position maybe is not the way to go. And here, Magnus really has to decide what to do, because if he captures the knight, then Maxime captures on c3. And what do you do then? For example, captures on f6. We're going to capture on c3 with check. And now, if you block with the queen, you lose the rook. If you block with the bishop, so the queen guards the rook, then you lose the knight, because the queen no longer will be guarding the knight. So this would be, of course, winning for black. So instead, what you could try is something like knight d to b5, challenge the queen this way, give up the pawn with queen captures on e5 with check. Now queen to e2, as the knights are now defending each other. Here we would see a trade, captures, and now yes, you're threatening knight to c7 check, but that can easily be prevented. King to d8 or knight to a6 guards the c7 square. So black will always be up a pawn and have a better game. So Magnus decides that if that's the case, at least I want as many pieces plus queens on the board. So he plays knight c to e2, and Maxime, of course, grabs the free pawn. So queen captures on e5, and now bishop to f4. He wants to get as much development in as possible for the price of that one pawn. So queen to h5, and now comes f3. Controlling this knight here, but also just preparing to go after that black queen. And now we have bishop to h6, asking Magnus, what do you do here? I'm up a pawn, I want to trade down as much as possible. What do you play here? Magnus just continues harassing the black queen. We have g4. Queen to h3 now, and here comes queen to d2, now threatening to pick up the bishop, and Magnus really spent a lot of time here on this queen to d2 move. I think maybe even some 7 minutes, which is a lot, as this is rapid chess, 15 minutes per player, but you have to either capture on h6 and allow the black queen to capture, then you are controlling this very nice diagonal, or play what Magnus played. You could also try queen to c1, but queen to c1 just looks very weird. So of course queen to d2 was played, and now bishop captures on f4. We have knight captures attacking the queen here, and only now queen to h4 check by Maxime. We have king to d1 blocking. You could also block with the queen, but of course Maxime wants to go in the endgame. He's up a pawn. So king d1, and now knight to c6, offering further trades. So knight to g2 by Magnus, pushing back the black queen, queen to h3, and now knight to f4. Magnus would be very happy with a repetition of moves, of course. Queen to h6, and now we have h4, preparing g5 to win some material. Queen back to g7. Now black has a fianchettoed queen, but he doesn't care. He's up a pawn, and his position is great. And he is having a lot of pressure here on this knight. So Magnus has to decide what to do. If this knight moves, you could just trade everything, and then black would have the endgame that black wanted. So c3, adding another defender to the d4 knight, and now Maxim just castles. He doesn't care about these pawns. Problem is you can't push h5. h5 just runs into e5. And now, okay, you can capture on c6, of course, and after b captures, you gave black this massive center. After the knight moves, you're going to play e4, and you don't really care about the kingside attack. You don't care if white opens up here, because opening up the center really favors black, and if you don't do that, then you will very quickly have a very nice pass pawn here. So after this castles, we have g5 instead. h5 is not possible. Knight to h5, and now Magnus captures, and he messes up Maxim's king side. G captures on h5, and now rook to e1, centralizing the rook. And also, if the knight is captured, we will also win the e7 pawn. So of course e6 by Maxim, and now f4. We're hoping for f5, f6, and if we can get that in, then our chances drastically improve here as white. So rook 8 to c8. And now rook to c1. Magnus could try pushing the f pawn right away. For example, if captures, you can even get f6 in, queen g6, and queen captures on d4. It's of course playable, but black shouldn't really have any issues here. There's no attack here for white. It's impossible to break through here with something, and the rooks really don't go in between pawns, so they will not be very useful for this attack. And black will just continue with the usual plan: rook to c6, rook to c8, to double up, and then create some sort of an attack here against the white king. So instead, after rook 8 to c8, we have rook to c1 by Magnus first, and now rook f to e8. We have queen to d3, and now queen to g6, offering a queen trade. And now there really isn't anything better to do than trade queens. So Magnus says, all right, I'm down a pawn. I have to trade queens. At least I'm going to improve the position of my king while I'm doing that. And Maxim now takes this opportunity to exchange as much as he can. So knight captures on d4, queen captures on g6, h captures, c captures, and now king to f8. Of course, he's not going to trade. He wants Magnus to trade, and he wants to improve the position of his own king as well. We have rook captures on c8, rook captures on c8, and now comes a move that is very, very hard to understand. Because one thing that pretty much everyone knows is when you're down a pawn in a rook and pawn endgame, you do not trade rooks, because the king and pawn endgame is winning for the side that has an extra pawn. But here, for some reason, that's exactly what Magnus does. And maybe sometimes when you're so strong as Magnus is, you see things very far away, you calculate things, but that maybe just aren't there. So he played rook to c1, but of course this doesn't work. Maxim happily goes into the king and pawn endgame, rook captures, king captures, and now f6. Making room on f7 for the king. We have king to d2. Magnus starts improving the position of the king. King to f7, king to e3 now. We have e5 by Maxim. He wants to trade down as much as possible. This is a temporary pawn sacrifice, but Maxim knows this position very well. And after this video, you will too, and you will also be able to sacrifice pawns like Maxim here and take down Magnus Carlsen. Okay, maybe not him, but a random opponent. So here f captures on e5, f captures on e5, we have d captures on e5, and now king to e6. So the material is now equal, but the problem is Maxim is threatening queen captures on e5, king captures on e5. And of course Magnus defends king to d4, and now we have this position where the material is completely equal. The position is almost completely equal, but not quite, and that's the reason why not just that, but why the position is winning for Maxim. So feel free to pause the video and try to find a winning move or two for black while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on realizing that either pushing a5 or b6 are winning ideas here. Congratulations to everyone who found it. You are a true master of the endgame. We can even put that in green. That's not green. There we go. So a5 and b6 are the winning pawn pushes. But if you decided on a6 and b5, that's not winning. And if you decided on moving the king, that's just weird. So we're going to discuss this a little bit because it is a lot of fun. So basically, the side that can get the other guy's king to move is the side that wins. So we have to use our tempi very well. For example, if you play a5, that's perfectly fine. Now white has to make a move. Of course, he's not going to sacrifice a pawn. He's going to play a3 or a4. Doesn't really matter. a3, we're going to play b5. And now after any pawn move, let's say b4 is played, we're just gonna block the position with a4, and now we force the white king to move. Now the white king has to move. He moves the king, we pick up the pawn, and now we're completely winning. On the other hand, if you play a6 instead of a5, that's not winning. Because now white plays b4, and now black's the one who's in trouble. You can't play a5 because you lose the pawn, and if you play b5, then we just play a3, and again the black king has to move. And of course, if you play b6, we can just play a4, and now it's white who gets to block the position. b5, a5, and now the black king has to move. You move the king, and then we pick up the pawn, and now white is winning. It's the same if you play b5. b5 also will simply not do, because then white simply gets to block the position with b4. Now your only move is a6. White will do the same, play a3. The black king has to move wherever, doesn't really matter. We pick up the pawn, and we're winning this endgame. So of course, Maxim played the correct move. He played b6, and now there's nothing more for Magnus to do here. b4 was played. b5 now, forcing Magnus to make a move, a3, a6, and he was in this position on move 39 that Magnus Carlsen resigned the game, and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave equalized the match. And the fourth game was also has ended in a draw, so the first 4 games are now equal. We'll see what happens in the next 2. So yeah, here you can see how Maxim really outplayed Magnus in the opening. That queen to c7 maneuver was really something. After this e5, just queen to c7 going for that, what Magnus missed. Then Magnus could have traded down and go into an endgame being down a pawn, but he decided to complicate. Maxim didn't mind. He just traded down in a complicated position because he can. He's very strong, and here he definitely outplayed Magnus in the opening, in the middle game, but also in the end game. So yeah, good stuff by Maxim. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I would like to thank John Sved, Hasko Mer, David Kimura, myself for making great videos, and Vlad Laru for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this very nice event, checking up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon. Sorry about that. And have an excellent rest of your day.